Welcome to Off the Grid, a podcast for small business owners who want to leave social media without losing all their clients.
Let's go off the grid. Okay. Let's go off the grid. Okay. I know that you really want to put your phone away. Yeah. Let's go off the grid.
Welcome to Off the Grid, a podcast about leaving social media without losing all your clients or your income or your big dreams for your business. I'm your host, Amelia Ruby. I am the founder of Softer Sounds Podcast Studio. And on this show, I am your fellow traveler and sometimes guide in this journey of sharing our work with radical generosity, energetic sovereignty, and a big dose of enthusiasm, as you're going to hear in today's conversation. So this week, I am officially, quote unquote, kicking off season 7 of Off the Grid with a conversation with return guest Cody Cook-Parrott. Cody was on the podcast about a year ago, and we talked about their relationship to Instagram, how it had shaped their early business growth, and how they were using and not using the platform in their daily life. Since that conversation, Cody had gone off Instagram and off and on a few times. And then this summer, Cody deleted their Instagram account. If you're not familiar with Cody, they are a dancer, a quilter, a writer, a teacher, and the author of a few books you may have heard of, including How to Not Always Be Working and Getting to Center. And in this conversation, we're going to hear about how the fact that they had an Instagram account with 80,000 followers was a big part of how they got their first book deal. And then we're going to fast forward to the present day where Cody's focusing on strengthening the foundations of their business so that they're ready to launch their next book, The Practice of Attention, next spring without social media. I love talking to Cody, and I really enjoy this conversation, and I am so thrilled to be bringing it to you to kick off season 7 of the show, which is all about attention and books. So it felt like the perfect way to begin. If you enjoy this conversation, I also want to invite you to a totally free event that Cody and I will be co-hosting, happening Saturday, September 20th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You'll hear more about it in the episode, but Cody's podcast, Common Shapes, is returning, I think, in a week. Yeah, in a week from now when you're hearing this. And we are hosting a party to celebrate the return of the show and to guide you in some creative ideation as we head into the fall. So stay tuned to this conversation to hear Cody and I talk about how we bring creative ideas to life, and then RSVP for the party. Did you hear me say it's totally free? And it's happening Saturday, September 20th. This is a super rare opportunity to hang out with me on a weekend and to hang out with Cody for free. And I will also be giving away an early copy of my book, Your Attention is Sacred, Except on Social Media, at the party. So if you want a chance to get your hands on it before anybody else, you're going to want to be there. Again, the link to RSVP for the party is in the show notes. Head there, sign up, and then stay tuned as we dive into my conversation with Cody Cook-Parrott. Hi, Cody. Welcome back to Off the Grid.
Thank you, Amelia. I love to be on my favorite podcast of all time, Off the Grid.
Would you tell the people what has just happened with your Instagram presence?
I will. So, hello, dear listeners of Off the Grid. As many of you know, from listening to the last episode Amelia and I recorded together, or if you've been witnessing my work at all, anywhere from the last 7 to 13 years, you've watched me, I would say, battle Instagram addiction. I would put it that bluntly. And a month ago, 31 days to be exact, I guess technically 32 today on the day we're recording. I hit delete on Instagram. So there is a difference between deactivate and delete. I have deactivated many, many times as an experiment, or even when I said, I was leaving forever, I deactivated. I did not delete. So I hit. Part of it was, I don't think there used to be a delete option. If I'm correct, I think there used to only be a deactivate option. But anyways, there is a delete option, and I hit delete. I think a few months before that, even I had hit delete, but I logged back in. I was too scared. But I hit delete, and then I had to wait the 30 days that they make you wait. And yeah, yesterday I typed Cody Cook-Parrott in, and it said, no users found. So it's gone. There's no more Instagram. There's no more personal practice, no more Cody Cook-Parrott, the Instagram. I am officially off the grid, Amelia.
How does it feel? What's really coming up for you in this moment?
Yeah, I am having two separate experiences with the Cody of it all and the personal practice of it all. A big thing was, and for anyone listening, I really am thinking about the archive. And, in my grad school program at Naropa, the class that I was in last semester was called Rooting in the Archive. And so I've been thinking so much about archives, and the quilt show that I have up right now is called The Quilt as Archive. And I'm thinking so much about archival practices. And so, something that was really important to me in deleting both of these feeds, especially with personal practice, was making sure I downloaded that project. And just, I think it can be easy for us to be like, just leave social media. Or I don't think either of us talk about it like that, but it can be easy to be a little bit flippant about it, where it's like, no, that is a decade long really important art project and an archival practice, and that has 900 videos that I want to live somewhere else, like on my personal website. And so, yesterday I started sort of playing with like, how do I want them to live on my website? And I almost feel teary-eyed talking about it now. Like, I started looking at some of those videos from the first few months of personal practice from 2015, and like hearing those songs again and watching me dance in like me and my ex-husband's house, like, was really emotional. And so there's definitely some emotions coming up around that project. But in terms of my personal Instagram, which, started as the Have Company Instagram, which was my shop and gallery space in Grand Rapids, that then turned into, personal business Instagram. I feel two things about it. I feel very little sadness. I don't feel that same feeling I feel with personal practice, where there is sort of like that was like a vessel for my creativity. I feel like it used to be a vessel for my creativity, and then that got lost along the way, and it just became a really addictive thing. Like, personal practice, I never followed anyone, so it never became an addictive space. I never felt hooked to the likes. I never felt hooked to the comments. I never felt hooked to follower count. Like, I literally couldn't even tell you how many followers personal practice had. It never got there for me. With the Cody Cook-Parrott feed, it did get there for me for sure. And so I just feel very free. I feel very free of the addiction. So it just kind of feels amazing. I know the last thing I was really hooked on that I think I'm still sort of working through is, it was the place that had that like social capital validation of like, it was the one-stop shop to look fancy to the people, whether it was the publishers, the agents, the PR firm, people who were going to hire me for something, having 80,000 followers, a blue check mark, and celebrities who follow you. It looks good. So you lose that. You don't see that on my website or my newsletter. So I think that is where you do, and this is something you talk about so beautifully, and you've been talking about with, self-publishing your book, is just what do you lose in not being there, and especially in the deleting? Because I could have left that there for people to see, and I chose
Yes.
not to.
Thank you so much for that reflection. And there's so many pieces I just want to like pull at together. I think I do really appreciate the emphasis on the archive. And I'm someone who left my Instagram presence up as an archive. You know, I had a whole body of work there. And it's interesting because like that body of work isn't really on my website. It actually, for me, it's like this actual nice like time stamp. Like it feels like the past and I'm not really trying to carry it through. So I like that it just lives there, but part of it is that, like, if Instagram just deleted my account one day, I would be like, "Cool, it's just gone." And that's okay with me. But I'm really hearing you with personal practice, like, that was such a beautiful and powerful body of work for you, and if Instagram just deleted it one day, that would be devastating. I mean, 900 videos, what an archive, and I love that that archive is moving to your website, or I assume has moved onto a hard drive somewhere and then will make its way onto your website because
Let's pray my computer stays intact.
yeah, 900 videos is a lot to like download, re-upload, move around. So I do appreciate the labor of archiving as well. It is work. I also just wanted to note your point about like feeling addicted to Instagram. And I know you've talked about this and written about this a lot. And from that perspective, how do you feel about this like 30-day wait period between pressing delete and actually being deleted? Could you tell listeners a little more about like how that works and what it brings up for you?
I hated it. I hated it so much. It reminds me when John and I got divorced, there was a 90-day window. And it was really strange because it was this weird, like, grief portal where at the beginning, I felt a lot of grief. And then at the end of the 90 days, I remember John feeling a lot of grief. I wondered what it would have been like if right when we had signed the divorce papers, it had just gone through or something. I don't know. It is a grief portal. It's like, okay, here's your 90-day grief portal, or like, here's your 30-day grief portal. Like, you must wait now for this to be official. And you're just sort of swimming in this strange time period. And when I tried to do it a couple months ago, you know what came up was it was this art show that I have up. And I just was like, I want to promote it. I want to get the word out. What shifted for me actually was my local community has really expanded, but a lot of them follow me on Instagram. So actually, what kind of changed was that Instagram became a way to actually reach, like, the algorithm started sucking for reaching my, like, people who would sign up for my online classes, but it started working really well for reaching the, like, 40 people I want to come to the open gallery hours here. And so I was sort of like, well, shoot, I'm doing this art show. And I really wanted that feeling of like, I'm going to be very honest here. I want to see people post pictures of me
Mm-hmm.
at my art opening. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want to see me. I want to see me in lights. And then I was on the final last round of major edits for The Practice of Attention, my next book, which is not explicitly about leaving social media, but it's very much about my addiction to social media and how I'm healing through it. And I read that freaking book, Amelia, and I was like, if I am on social media while I promote this book, I'm going to look like a crazy person. And I am a little bit of a crazy person. We all know that.
Yeah, we
But
love it.
I was like, I'm going to look real crazy. Like, I was like, this book kind of just shows you how to leave social media. Like, I was like,
Mhm.
I have to delete it. I was like, I want to delete it. Like, I almost read it as if I hadn't written it. Like, I read it as if this is just a great book about how you should kind of leave. And so I think that was July 1st. And I deleted it and I kind of just felt really sure. Like, I think I could picture the book coming out and me not having it. And the other thing I pictured was this time between now and the book coming out in March and wanting to really build strength in my business between now and then without social media. Like I was like, I don't want to quit 2 months before and be flailing. So in these last 30 days, I have done a lot of work to strengthen my business, especially before grad school starts again. And yeah, so the 30 days actually kind of was easy. Like I think I was really ready. But you witnessed me the last like couple days or the week, like kind of leading up to it. I started worrying that I was gonna panic. Like I wasn't actually panicking, but I was like, what if I do panic? What if I do get really freaked out and sign in? And I was totally fine. I just was like, I'm so ready. And now that it's done, I'm like, it's totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really beautiful to have this conversation with you right after this moment, and also just to like reflect on and perhaps reflect back to you. Like when we spoke before, you were off Instagram and had deactivated. And by the time the episode went live, you were active again. And there was a lot of that feeling of like stress and panic between those moments of recording and releasing. And we had a, whole exchange in there. And I just feel so much calm and relief, and you're arriving in this conversation. I mean, I can even hear it in your voice, which is, sort of, it just feels like you're speaking from your diaphragm, not from like your nasal passages, which I mean, no judgment on anyone's voice and how you speak, but
No, I
I can
love
often
that.
feel how dropped in someone is based on where in their body they're speaking from. And I just love this for you so much. And I'm just like beaming because I feel really excited for you. And a few things you said that stood out to me. I mean, I think it's so interesting to think of the waiting period parallel between like a divorce period and a deletion of a social app period. And often those sorts of periods feel very infantilizing to me or patronizing to me. I'm like, hello, we are all adults. We can make decisions. Why are you enforcing this? The same way with perhaps the incredibly fucked up abortion waiting periods that we see, right? We see that example from the state, but we also see it from these tech apps. And I just find that so frustrating. I think it also really does exacerbate some of the patterns and feelings you're mentioning, especially for people who experience or feel, Instagram addiction, like that sort of anticipation of the potential to panic and that sort of recognition of past patterns. And it just really sets you up for a hard 30 days. And I'm glad you were able to navigate yours with relative ease. But I even remember when I deleted my Twitter account, they had a period like this. And I was just afraid I was going to accidentally log back into it. Like I didn't
Yes.
even want to be there. But it was like, well, what if I open my laptop and it's logged in, and how do like, I just had a lot of stress around it that felt so unnecessary. So I just wanted to name that around these enforced periods.
I felt that yesterday when I went to test it. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I'm going to test it, but it better not just let me log in. It better ask me if I want to. I was really nervous.
But it didn't. No
It
users
didn't.
found.
No users found.
I also think it's so beautiful that reading your book really gave you the sureness and the clarity that you needed around this. And what a gorgeous example of your own art healing you and of your own art being the healing that you needed. And I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit more about sort of this concept from your book of just like practicing attention and how you think about attention in relationship to social media right now.
I wrote most of the book while I was deactivated and while I was using the Wise phone. So I wasn't using an iPhone, but basically I didn't have access to email on my phone. That was the biggest thing. So I was really distraction free while I was writing the book. And I think the thing that was the most regulating was that I could really just like sit down to write. And, I used these early morning sessions to write the book. Writing the book really changed my hours for better or worse. Now that I'm in like a serious partnership again, sometimes it's worse. I'm like, good night at 8 p.m. And she's like, what? Yeah, I think for me, the last 30 days, the amount of like reading I have gotten done, the amount of podcasts I've listened to, audiobooks I've listened to, like writing I've done, redone like my whole website, like all the back end systems I've done, like it's remarkable how much I've been able to do and focus on. And I think that in many ways is what the book is about. Not like tripping over productivity hacks, but just like my capacity widens for what I can take in. And, the other thing, something I feel like we talked a little bit about last time also is just my capacity for the news has widened so much. Like, going for my little walks and listening to Democracy Now! And hosting a quilt raffle right now. And I can swing into action in so much clearer ways. Like, to be like, yes, I'm going to host a quilt raffle that redistributes money to a family that is affected by a new ICE detention center that opened in Michigan, instead of like just reposting the info stuff on Instagram. Like, like I feel like I can put my body, not to say that that action shifts the needle or saves the world. I don't mean to say that, but it's like that is action that combines my creativity with my values in the place that I live. Like, I feel like Instagram would cloud like just movement work with like not where I live and with just other places. And so I feel like that's really what the book is about, is like, look to where you live, look to what is right around you, and how can you combine your hobbies, your creative practice, your business with like what is right in front of you. And so, yeah, I feel like the last 30 days really, I really put the practice of my book, The Practice of Attention, into practice. And that has felt really good. And I think that is maybe part of what you're noticing too, is that like my nervous system, I just feel so much more in alignment with my values when I'm not on Instagram, because I'm acting in alignment with my values. So, yeah.
Yeah. There is something I'm always thinking about when I'm offline and online. Like, I love to be online. I
Me
love
too.
the
Me
internet.
too. I heard you say that recently, and I was like, I'm addicted to Instagram. I'm not necessarily addicted to the internet. I love
Yeah.
to be online and then get offline.
I love it. I love nothing, well, I love lots of things more than this, but, I love going down a rabbit hole. I love twiddling around on Arena for 2 hours on a Sunday morning while I drink coffee, or going to my friends' websites and being like, "What have they been doing lately?" And then
Totally.
texting them and being like, "This is so cool." Like, that's something that I really cherish, and I really cherish the way that digital and virtual technologies allow us to be together with people who we are not close to.
Mm,
And yet, I don't want that at the expense of my experience of my local community and of my life offline and of my, garden in my backyard and my friend whose house I can bike to and like all these things. I don't think it has to be an either or. I want the both and of it. And I think we can have that. But what I've seen from companies like Meta on Instagram and Facebook has just been this full shift from a desire to connect you with people who may be local to you or who you have met in person at some point or shared a, IRL context with, to fully wanting you to live in virtual reality, right? I mean, we literally see this with Meta. Like Mark Zuckerberg is out there like in the metaverse trying to get people excited about it, like sees that as where we should be headed, like is the ultimate goal of his company. I've also been thinking about this because I was reading a piece recently about how there is more bot traffic on the internet than human traffic on the internet at this point. And I was like, oh, this is really shifting. Like, even though I love being online so much, I'm also feeling the effects of what these platforms and companies want from us and how they want us to stay online longer and longer and longer. And so I love that your book and your practice of attention allow you to sort of bridge that space, like really stay grounded in your local community while also being the Gemini that you are and excelling at the internet.
yes, exactly. Root in your local community and excel at the internet. That's what I want for all of us.
Same, same. There are a few more things that you shared before that I wanted to just touch on. One was that desire to get on Instagram to see the photos that people post of you at your art opening.
Oh, it's so embarrassing.
I just want to say that I think that is literally what we're all doing on Instagram.
I mean, what else are we doing on Instagram?
I guess, okay, there's a subset of Instagram users who like literally don't share any photos of their life and don't
That's
want
true.
to be seen on there.
That's true. That's true.
But this really reminds me of the conversation I had with Becca Piastrelli about how to feel seen without social media, because I think there are a lot of us who what we're desiring from that space is both like a certain performance of self, like, oh, I get to go there and be this version of me, and that can be appealing. And then also, like, that version gets reflected back to me. And let me tell you, I've been thinking about as I prep to do like a book tour and do these events, I'm like, nobody's going to be emailing me the pictures of me that they take at these occasions. I mean, I welcome that, but like, that's not how we use these technologies, right? So it comes up for me as well. And I guess I just wanted to normalize that. That's why I bring it back, because I do think that in lieu of social media, we have to find other opportunities or methods for sacred witnessing. It's actually very crucial in our community building and in our just sense of belonging. And I'm happy to have found that off of social media now. But as you were saying that, I was like, oh, this actually really matters. It's not embarrassing to want to be seen by people you love. And it's warped by the like Instagramness of it, perhaps. But I'm curious if there are ways that you're feeling witnessed. Yeah, tell me about them, please.
Okay, well, I want to tell you the really cool thing I did.
Yay!
Okay. Well, first off, I actually want to tell you, these are the 3 reasons I used Instagram. 1, to promote my business and make money. 2, to share mutual aid organizations, uplift other people's projects, voices, etc. And 3, to post pictures of myself being gay and sober. And
Hell yeah.
The business one stopped working. The mutual aid, lifting up other voices, it works, but I think I'm talking to an echo chamber of other people who already believe what I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I'm saying it. And the last one, I think I can live without. Okay. Being gay and sober. I just am those things in my life, so it's okay. Okay, so that being said, what I did at my art opening, because I was like, I need to feel hot and witnessed, and what am I going to do if not this? So I did a bunch of stuff. We ran community sewing hours all week, and we bought a bunch of packs of Polaroid film and had a Polaroid camera, and everybody could grab the Polaroid camera and take pictures all week. And like anybody from the little old lady up the street came, and then like Russell, who was like 6 years old with like a high ponytail on his head and like a butterfly shirt came and like sewed for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And Russell took amazing pictures and like got to use a Polaroid for the first time and was like, truly thought it was like a magic spell. Like,
it is.
Because it is. He was like, a picture comes out of here. So Russell was a great photographer. And then on the table, we draped over all of the like squares that were made at community sewing time. We made a QR code for the Abolish ICE raffle quilt. So people could come in and take a picture of the QR code, donate right away to the GoFundMe. And then at the opening, people could grab the Polaroid and take pictures of me and them, take pictures of their friends. And there were like 60 Polaroids of just like people smiling and like, because my family came from all over and like my friends and all my like 12-step fellows. And like, it was just beautiful. And so I have like all of these Polaroids. Oh, and I had a guest book. So I had a guest book that like everybody signed and put their email addresses in. Hello, newsletter people. So it said like, sign the guest book. And I printed out also, I made catalogs because I did a bunch of writing in grad school last semester, like an essay, The Quilt as Archive. So I had those. I had my prayer books for sale. And then I had the QR codes for the raffle quilt also printed out so people could take them and like a little flyer with more information. I had my business cards out. So yeah, I like went off on the like off Instagram marketing table. I was like, here's how you get the raffle quilt. Here's how you get more information about me, the gallery, the catalog. Everybody take pictures of yourself and other people. That was my witnessing table, and it felt awesome. And I never saw if anybody posted on the internet, and I'm now reflecting back that I never once thought about it. I wasn't like, I wonder if people posted me on the internet.
Mhm. And it sounds like, I mean, one, because of how much you've unhooked from social media, but two, because you created this witnessing table as a support system for yourself. You had this self-awareness that you wanted to be seen at this event. You wanted to feel hot. You wanted to feel cherished and celebrated. And then instead of just being like, so I hope some people Instagram it, like you actually provided all of these ways that that could happen, right? And it just strikes me so clearly right now that what a warped and distorted world where like likes and comments and putting up a story is like our primary mode of showing care and love for the people whose events we go to or whose art openings we see or whose concerts we're at. Like, I love that instead you really, again, like rooted into the local because this is happening in your local community. And then you also like chose witnessing modes that were going to give you exactly the feelings that you desired and needed, or, maybe not exactly, we can't control that, but like you selected all of these methods that operate in so many different ways, right? Because we're talking about sacred witnessing. We're also talking about straight up marketing, getting that email list
Oh,
going.
yeah.
And we're talking about, it also becomes like an interactive part of the event. So it's also operating on the level of your art and the space because you've created an activation now with the Polaroids and the ways people can engage. And that's so much more exciting than like walking into an opening and like a gallery assistant being like, please post it on Instagram, which is an experience I've had many times.
Oh, yeah, totally. That was the other thing is my friend Elijah makes like really beautiful clothes out of old quilts and has like a shop in the next town over. And I made the patchwork, but then he made me a tank top out of my patchwork. So it was just like I did a lot of stuff like that to like feel really connected and cool. And the other thing is like, this is where I do think some people who use social media maybe would have thought of that stuff, but I don't think I would have thought of that stuff if I would have been on Instagram still. Like, I have to be off of Instagram for my brain to invent stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think on Instagram, the like containers for creativity are so prescribed, right? It's like you can post on the feed, you can make a story, you can have a reel, you can put up a video, like, and that's kind of the options. But once you remove yourself from that frame of reference, you can do all these other things. You can kind of do whatever you want within the bounds of our time and space as we know it, right? So there are a lot of different options. I want to think a little bit more about what you shared about the sort of trade-offs of leaving social media because I love
Yeah.
this. I mean, we can just talk about how gorgeous it is to host this opening for yourself and have this event. And I cherish that. And I'm so glad we've spent time really thinking about all of the ways that it served you and supported your work. And also, I think that what you said earlier was completely correct that like your Instagram page, it was essentially a sort of like key to a certain set of gates for you that was like this many followers, these celebrities following me, this check mark will get me in this door. And then, maybe I can get a different type of book deal. Maybe I can get a press spot on a TV show. Maybe I can do all of these things. How are you thinking about your upcoming book launch without having that sort of key in your pocket now?
Yeah, I don't ever like lie or mince words that, back in 2016 when I got my book deal for How to Not Always Be Working, it was 100% due to the Instagram following I had. Like, do I think I'm an okay writer? Sure. Well, I think I'm a great writer now. Was I a great writer in 2016? Kind of, but I sold it on a like 6-page zine I wrote on a typewriter. I mean, and got a I'll say the number here, a $50,000 book deal. Like that's not from being a great writer. That was from having a big Instagram following.
And
That
a
is
great title.
and a great title. Exactly. Thank you. They knew they could sell the brand of me at the time, and to be really transparent, that is not the number that I got for my latest book, because I think that's not the number people are getting for book deals these days. Let's just say it was about a third of that. And if you can do math, you can figure out math. Love to talk transparently about money here on Off the Grid. But the point is, I was really rewarded from an Instagram following, not from my skills. And I think that is something that I don't want anymore. In a way, is sort of like I'm sort of willing to give up the key, because I'm like, I don't know if I want keys like that anymore. Like, and I think that's part of why I decided to go back to school. It was to like refine my craft even more, to be like, I want opportunities that come from my actual craft. Like, I don't want opportunities that come from like clout and getting in the door and who I know. So yeah, I think going into the book, if I may sound a little cuckoo wacky right now, I feel very like this book is going to do very well because it is in alignment to not have the key. Like, I think the book is sort of about not having the key anymore. And
Yeah.
so it's correct to no longer have it. Or like, to me, when I say very well, I mean like it's going to reach the people it needs to. I would love for it to be like, How to Not Always Be Working was like a bestseller at Powell's in Portland and Skylight in LA. Like, I want that kind of success for the practice of attention. Like, I would love to manifest like it being a bestseller at my favorite little bookstores. Like, that sounds great. And I would say another thing I'm considering right now, which is scary to say out loud or to talk about, is hiring like a publicist, which would be partly because I'm not on Instagram. And that costs about as much as a book advance. Like, that is a very expensive investment.
Yeah.
But that is the trade-off of not having the key a little bit. Is like, okay, if I'm not going to have that tool, what are the other tools? So one would be like hiring a publicist or an assistant or someone to send those emails. It's about doing business differently, because as I've heard like Bear say, or, a lot of people say, I've said it in my own words, is like, Instagram is not a business plan. And that's the scary hook, is like, I got a book deal from it. And so that makes me think pretty good business plan. Like, but it's not a long-term business plan. And so that's the thing, is like, even when I used it to make my like book deal announcement a couple months ago, that got like 300 likes. And I don't mean to complain about that. Like, that's lovely. But like with 80,000 followers, like back in the day, even with 20,000 followers, that would have gotten 6,000 likes, So like, it's not even working anymore. Like, it's not even, the key isn't even working in the lock. Like, the key needs to get redone at Ace Hardware. Like, the key machine is broken and not even making the right key anymore, So it's like, even if somebody was like, you should really keep using this key, it's like, bro, the key is rusted the fuck out. Like, it's not even working. So, I think if someone were to tell me like, you should really keep using the key to promote the book, it's like, it's not even working.
What I was hearing is that perhaps with your first book deal, traditional book deal for How to Not Always Be Working, Instagram was a key and it opened a door that you actually wanted it to, perhaps, and it sort of worked. And maybe it was the only tool you needed in your toolkit at that time. And I think that's true. I think that's just honest. Like,
yeah,
there are so many people who got book deals and sold, thousands or tens of thousands of copies of their books through social media, but also through independent bookstores and these like beautiful spaces that are doing the work that we often disregard or don't see to sell books and get them in the homes of the people who desire them. And now what I'm hearing is that you've built this whole toolkit of ways that you're going to share and promote this book. And it sounds to me like they're operating on kind of two levels. There's the business level you just mentioned of like, maybe there's a publicist, there's an email campaign, there's a pre-order campaign. Like we have this whole set of business tools. But I was also hearing like this deeper set of tools, which is the like complete integrity with the project. It's the alignment. It's the commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for artists, that's so present, but it gets so lost in the process of bringing your art through an institution like publishing, right? It's very hard to stay true, perhaps, to the integrity of your project or your vision for it when you're moving in a space that's like worried about the Amazon keywords and putting a weird subtitle on your book so it shows up better in search, which I see all the time now, right? So all of that said, I'm so excited for your book. I can't wait to read it and spread the word and probably have you back on next year when your book is coming out. And I also wanted to make some time today to talk about self-publishing, which is a love of yours. And of course, I'm putting out a self-published book. And we both, have a background in zines that led into self-published books. So I'm just curious for anything you want to share about how you started self-publishing and what it means to you now.
I think the first zine I made was called Feel Better, which I put out in 2012. And I love making zines. They're very fun. Right next to me is one of my favorite zines, How a Photo and Video Sharing Social Networking Service Gave Me My Best Friend's True Love, a Beautiful Career, and Made Me Want to Die, which I wrote in 2018 and now can officially celebrate today, August 1st, 2025. Yeah, I self-published Look About You, my prayer book, last year, and I did use social media a lot to push the pre-orders, and then I think I deactivated like a day before it came out, like a weirdo. It was one of those, I was like, I gotta get out of here. And I will say, I sold a lot of copies using social media, and I sold a lot less copies when I deactivated. Social media, especially for self-publishing, that's a hard one. Instagram sells books. It does. It hurt me to see that difference after I deactivated and saw it go down a little bit, especially for like the reposting. Like people love to repost a book in the stories, but I just love the freedom of the creative process. I think right now what's happening with like some of my marketing ideas for my book that doesn't come out till March is I'm like emailing my editor being like, what about this? What about this? What about these? And she's kind of like, okay, I'll forward that to Christine, and Christine will be in touch when she's back. They're like, we're not launching this pre-order campaign till September, sweetie. Like, it's not time yet. And I fully respect that because it's factually not time yet, but I'm like, it's time. And when you self-publish a book, you don't have to email anybody for better or very worse, because when there's so many planets in Gemini, you can move so fast. So yeah, but I love self-publishing. And I think some people see it as weirdly less than. And that's where I'm always like, no. Not only is it not less than, but you can make just as much, if not more money self-publishing a project. And you can build a whole team. Like I built a whole team around Look About You. I had an editor, I had a designer. I was definitely my own publicist and marketing person. And with a lot of these print-on-demand services, you can populate them to anywhere you want. If you want to be on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Bookshop, etc., you can opt out of anybody you want. You can ship them from home. You can ship them from there. And yeah, I would love to pass it over to you, though. I would love to hear how you've been feeling with the difference and what's coming up for you with self-publishing.
So for listeners tuned in, I think in 2 weeks, I'm going to do a whole week of episodes just on publishing pathways and why I decided to self-publish and why I'm not putting my book on Amazon. So that is all coming.
Beautiful.
And will be a sort of week of programming here on Off the Grid. But I think what I'll say right now is that, my introduction into self-publishing actually came through being like my college newspaper editor.
Hell yeah.
And I went to an incredibly small women's college, and we did not have a journalism program. We did not have much going on. So I was writing articles, I was proofing things, I redesigned the paper in InDesign on a weekend.
I love that.
I was all in on this. And then because it was a school, a college project, I sent the files to an actual printer and he printed the paper and he delivered it to us. And we distributed across campus every other week, I think, or maybe once a month. I can't quite remember. But what I learned through that was just this sort of real clear sense of agency around, oh, I could write things and I could put them in a form I like, and then they could be in the world and those ideas could impact people. And I think that at the time I was like, this is so much work. Why does anyone do this? But now I feel so grateful that I had that experience, because it did translate into then me starting to write zines. Coming out of college, so my first real zine project was called something I would not call it now, but it was called Lady Parts Zine.
Yes.
Because it was 2013 and I was a budding feminist, and that's what I thought feminism was, which in 2013, I wasn't wrong. Now I would not, that was 12 years ago now, but I made an anthology zine, and I just asked people to submit stories and things. And many of those people have gone on to publish books and become successful professional writers, which is so cool. And I have this tiny little short story that they wrote in the zine that is in a box in my closet. It's not like these things are still in
Pretty
print.
sure I have that zine, Amelia.
You might, yeah.
I think you mailed it to me at Have Company.
That sounds like something I would do.
Yeah. I'm like, wait a second.
Also, I just had this 20-something sort of fearlessness, I think, where it's just I'm just going to email random people and see if they want to be in my zine, and then I'll send them a copy and I'll take it to Chicago Zine Fest and I'll mail it to a stranger on the internet.
Or I got it at Chicago Zine Fest. I'm like, I definitely have that zine.
And this is the magic, right? It's I just put it out in the world. And I didn't do it on the internet. I mean, it had a Tumblr website, which I think it still does, because that's how I knew how to make free websites. I'm pretty sure ladypartzine.tumblr.com still exists. The listeners can tell me if I'm wrong. But I share all of that to say that that was the ethos that I brought into writing. I loved writing stories in college, and then I just loved bringing people together to share them and put them on the page and print them out. And I was just very Aries sun, Capricorn rising. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to make it. We want to put our stories together? Great. I've already Xeroxed it. I've already bought the long arm stapler. Here we go. It's done. And so being that person, I also had a dream of writing a book and publishing a book. And my first book was self-published based off of an Instagram project, right? So I did this Instagram series called Feminist Mantra Mondays, which also I would not name it that now, but it was 2016 when I started it. And then I turned that into a book and self-published that book at the time using KDP, Amazon services.
My first book was my personal practice book, which was also self-published from an Instagram project through KDP.
Yeah, I probably just copied you. And then that eventually led to my traditional book deal. And I think as I'm telling this story, especially to you and with you, it's funny to realize what worked is that I had some ideas, I had some audacity, and I had some low-key role models that I was oh, cool, I see how someone's doing this, I can do that. I had a very clear sense of if they can do it, I can do it. And that really then carried me through. And then I did get a traditional book deal. And then when it came to this project, I did end up taking it to my previous publisher. I was contractually obligated to. And it just didn't make any sense. I wanted that agency. I wanted to be able to make the decisions I wanted to make. I wanted to figure out what the cover was. I wanted to think about exactly what went in the book. And also, I wanted to be able to share chapters with friends, publish them other places, be super collaborative with it. And traditional publishing just isn't really set up that way. It's you have to get permission for all the things. And you do have a team that's supporting you, and that's beautiful. But also it means that you're beholden to them in a different way. And I want to be beholden to my readers and to my community. I don't want to be beholden to an institution anymore. And so that was a big part of the decision. And the other piece that I'll talk about more in the episode that's coming up is I had a very clear sense that I could sell a couple thousand copies of this book. That feels so true to me. And I knew through my traditional publisher that would essentially be a failure for them. And I was if I do it myself, that's a huge success and a lot of money, and I will be so thrilled. but if I sell it to them, it'll be a failure in their eyes. And I was just like, I can't sign up for that again. I did that before. I sold 3,000 copies-ish of my first book, and it kind of flopped. I just didn't want to sign up for that again. So that was a long way of saying, I love self-publishing for the creativity, the agency, and the community around it. I appreciate traditional publishers for all the resources and the reach that they bring that I certainly can't access on my own. But I had such a clear vision of what success would mean for this book, and I didn't want to hand that over to this institution to tell me what it meant. Also, what their marketing team told my editor was like, she's not on social media. We don't know how to promote her book. And I was like,
fucking lazy.
Well,
That's so lazy. Maybe lazy is the wrong word. I don't know. Maybe we're not using that word anymore. But I'm just like, it's not creative.
exactly.
I'm like, we don't know how to promote that. I'm like, here, listen to me, 30 days off Instagram. I'm like, what? I'm like, I can think of 1,000 ways. Don't know how to promote it off social media.
I'm with you. And for what it's worth, I think an appropriate use of the word lazy is like committed to the templates that exist with no interest in finding new ones.
Yes.
I do think I'm like,
thank you. Yeah, I wouldn't say that about like taking a day off. That's not lazy.
No, rest is not lazy.
Rest is not lazy. Yes,
a refusal to think expansively.
Is lazy.
I would say that. I would agree with that. So it took months to clear all of that out. I had to like go through the traditional publisher process. I had to go through this whole process with my agent. I had to also then go through it with a designer. And eventually I just ended up doing all the book things myself. It's been a lot of work. I don't want to sugarcoat that like self-publishing does require a lot of work of you.
A lot of project managing.
Yes.
A lot of timelines.
Because like the physical object has a timeline, the marketing has a separate timeline, the distribution has a timeline. It's all a lot of layers. But I think that at the end of the day, if your goal is I want to do whatever the fuck I want, then you're going to want to self-publish, like, because you can't do that in a traditional model.
Although, wait, one thing I do want to say. This has been true for all my books with my covers. This is what they do. And I say this with no shade, especially to Sounds True, my current publisher, who I love very, 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 very much, is they will present you covers as if you don't have an option. They'll say, here are your beautiful covers. What do you think? Which one do you want? And then you have to be very, very stern when they're all not what you want. And you have to say, thank you so, so, so much. None of these are correct. Let us return to the mood board. Because they will present things to you sometimes as fact, and you have to return to them and say, this won't work for me. I found that especially with getting to center. And so with Sounds True, it was quite easy. They were like, okay, great. Like, let's go back to the mood board. It was really easy. And now I have the most beautiful cover in the entire world. But with getting to center, when I was making the cover, I had to be so intense with them. Like, they were like, no, this is the cover. And I was like, no, it's not the cover. And it was really hard. But in the end, I absolutely got the exact cover I wanted. So yeah, that's my only thing I say. I try to really tell people, because they really, really present things to you as fact, and they're just not fact. They are working for you. You are not working for them. So that is my little spiel for anybody who gets a book deal. Even if you have the smallest book advance in the world, you stick up for yourself.
Yeah. And honestly, it's true for any negotiation with a corporate or institutional entity. Like, they're set up with a power over model, a hierarchical model. They just are, even the ones we love, unless it's, we're looking at a co-op or we're looking at a collective publishing or a more like DIY endeavor. Like, they're going to have that hierarchical power over model. And so you have to really exercise your agency and really show up in this way that you're describing and really say, like, this is not it. And this starts with your contract negotiation. It's like on every layer of the process. And I think there's a lot of learning in that. And I love that you always go to bat for your books, and your books are all beautiful. So it shows in the end on the other side or on the shelf.
They are all beautiful. They are literally all stunning.
Cody, I have loved this conversation. We have talked about deleting Instagram. We have talked about practicing attention. We have talked about the magic of self-publishing and ways to navigate traditional publishing without social media. I would love if you could share with listeners, like, what's next for you and what's coming up this month that they can take part in.
Okay. Well, the thing that I am so excited to share with Off the Grid listeners is their other favorite podcast, Common Shapes, is coming back next Wednesday.
Burr, 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 burr.
It is produced by the one and only Amelia Ruby of Softer Sounds Studio. And to celebrate, me and Amelia are co-hosting a Common Shapes party on Zoom on September 20th. And it's totally free to come. And we're going to be doing a couple things. We are going to be going through the creative ideation portal together. It is my free 3-day guide to vision your projects and help get them out into the world. It has been downloaded over 5,000 times.
Wow.
I know. Do I sound like a marketing genius right now? I could probably get more compliments on it than some of my online classes. Like, people just love it. And then we're going to do a little Q&A, and I've got some prizes.
Yay.
Isn't that fun?
A giveaway.
Yeah, we're going to do like some giveaways. And then, okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, the return of Common Shapes. And then me and Amelia are doing a fun event on the 20th. I would love to see you there because we're going to party on the internet, and it's totally free to party with me and Amelia.
Also, I think I'll give away a copy of my book.
I was literally going to say, Amelia, let's give away a copy of your book at the party.
We will. So if you want to get your hands on the book before it's shipping, before anybody else can have it, it will be given away at the party, shipped to you first.
Whoa, you heard it here first, people. I'll be giving away a copy of Look About You and other stuff that I haven't decided yet. Also, by the time you listen to this, my brand new website will also be out.
Hell yes.
So go to CodyCook-Parrott.com for my brand new website.
Yes, CodyCook-Parrott.com. Listen to Common Shapes. Come to our party on September 20th. Thank you so much, Cody, for joining me on the podcast again. I look forward to you coming back once your book is out in the world next year.
Wow, thanks. You're going to have me back again? Are people going to get sick of me?
No. Off the Grid listeners, we love you. And until next time, we will see you officially, completely deleted.
Off the Grid.
Thanks for listening to Off the Grid. Don't forget to grab your free Leaving Social Media toolkit at offthegrid.fun/toolkit. This podcast is a Softer Sounds production. Our music is by Melissa Caitlin Carter of Making Audio Magic, and our logo is by Natelier Studio. I'm your host, Amelia Ruby, and until next time, I'll see you off the grid and on the interweb.
Let's go off the grid. Okay. Let's